amid this discussion of costs and prices and affordability, how does a $20 billion bailout of Argentina help Americans?
Do you know what a swap line is?
It's currency swap, yes.
Yes, but what is that?
You're the Treasury Secretary.
Yes, but why would you call it a bailout?
That is how...
In most bailouts, you don't make money. The U.S. government made money.
Oops. The Treasury Secretary, Bessent, joins us now to talk about this. Sir, good to have you here in the studio.
Hey, Rob, good to see you again.
That was, I thought, the best moment of the morning. I enjoyed watching it. The entire media, and I mean the entire media, has been slamming you and the Democrat Party as well for this move that was made with Milei. They know Milei is a very close friend of the president's, their allies. But it sounds like nobody actually knows exactly what you guys have just done. And I think everybody figured it out this morning.
I think so, Rob. And look, we used the U.S. balance sheet to bolster a great ally of the United States. I call it the peace through economic strength. And
Right.
How much better to put up the credit and full faith in the United States government, make money, and bolster an ally rather than end up with something like we've got with the Maduro regime, where we're having to target these drug ships and take military action. The question was, how is this good for Americans? It's great for Americans because we are taking back Latin America through our economic leadership. There will be no bullets. Chile has an election coming up. Bolivia just had an election. First time in 20 years they've gone center-right. They have embraced the U.S.
Yeah.
Paraguay, Ecuador.
Yeah.
So our whole hemisphere is coming our way, and the Obama administration had the same opportunity, and over their 8 years blew it. And I promise you, President Trump does not want that to happen here.
Right, and to the people that are thinking America first, as you said, this is a line of credit, and when it's borrowed on, we make money, I believe, on the interest, right? And they pay back with interest.
Well, they pay back with interest, but the way to think about it is, like, maybe for your first loan, your parents co-signed for it.
Sure.
We basically co-signed, and we are getting a big fee.
Yep.
It's from something called the Exchange Stabilization Fund. The Exchange Stabilization Fund has never lost money. Mm-hmm. And by the way, where were the same people when the Clinton administration used Exchange Stabilization Fund in 1995 for Mexico? That made a huge profit.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, you're not giving away money, and that's what people really care. That was what they tried to stick on you. I mean, even 60 Minutes tried to stick it to you with that farmer story over the weekend that I saw.
Yeah, I don't watch 60 Minutes anymore, so it's a lost cause. Only when the president's on.
Oh yeah, well that was a high-rated episode, right? I want to talk about affordability. The president says cost of living issues are being manufactured by the media. At the same time, and that is happening, but at the same time, there is a general feeling that life is still very expensive because, of course, it is. We just went through a hell of a lot of inflation the last couple of years, like the kind we haven't seen in 40 or 50 years. Those prices are still elevated. We're having, inflation's down. It's still sticky at around 3%, maybe a little under 3%. It seemed like this morning you admit that, cost of living is still expensive in this country, but there's things in motion that you believe are going to move us in the other direction. It's like turning the Titanic, right? It takes time to get these things going.
Yeah, well, it's also, if the house got burned down, you got to rebuild starting with the foundation, Rob.
Yeah.
And I think what the president is frustrated by is the media narrative, because the media narrative, the 2021, 22, 23, and even 24 during the campaign was Americans don't know how good they have it. It's a vibe session. I still remember that word. And everyone from the New York Times to former Fed vice chair to Wall Street Journal even, they said it was a vibe session. And instead of owning the inflation, they just said, the American people don't understand how they're feeling. And we came in, we inherited a mess. We have brought the inflation down. And Rob, there are two ways for curing affordability. There's bringing inflation down, because some of the prices we are going to be able to bring down. So energy prices, gasoline,
down quite a bit.
4-year low.
Yeah.
4-year low. Mortgage rates, when the president was January 20th, when the president came in, 30-year mortgage, 7.08, yesterday, 6.22. That's a huge move.
It's a big difference. Yeah.
If we can get mortgage rates down into the fives, that will help home ownership quite a bit.
Yeah.
So I think the president is just frustrated by the narrative, because I can tell you that every day he is working for the American people. That we have nonstop, all hands on deck meetings on this.
Yeah, and I mean, the hardest thing with this country is that every 2 years you have an election. And when you got a country this big, 340 million people, making changes takes a lot of time. And I think that's the hardest thing to get through. One idea that got a lot of attention this week was the 50-year mortgage that popped up. It seems like the White House is moving away from this, and understandably. But there are some other ideas that, and I think one of them at least was one of your ideas that I thought were really interesting. And one of them is the portable mortgage, the ability to transfer your mortgage rate to a new property if you buy it, or the assumable mortgage, which you can assume the interest rate of the house that you just bought if they have a low rate. Talk about that, because those are actually ideas I think that Trump voters are going to love.
Right. I don't know about the assumable mortgage, but the portable mortgage is something that works very well in the UK. If you have a low rate, and there's so many people with mortgages that are 3% or below from the pre-COVID, the COVID years, that they just don't want to move. And it's that log jam that is jamming up the housing market. Someone might want to trade down to a smaller house, but why would you trade down when you have such good financing arrangements? So if you could move your mortgage and maintain the rate, again, it works.
Is that something that we could we do that? I mean, what would that take to get that done? Because, I mean, that's obviously a regulation, right? But that would be enormous. I mean, if you have people that have a 3% mortgage, why would they move or sell or buy in this moment?
Yeah, look, I think with President Trump, everything is on the table because he is so interested in getting this affordability crisis fixed. And as I said this morning, and the host didn't really want to hear it, there are two ways to fix the affordability crisis. So we inherited a mess. President Trump has pushed down the rate of change, but Rob, the other way is real income growth. And during President Trump's first term, we saw the hourly workers do better than supervisory workers. We saw the bottom 50% of American households by net worth do better than the top 10%. So there will be a point, and when the chart comes out, I will come on and share it with you the first day it comes out, that inflation will turn down and real wages will turn up. And when those lines cross, which I am confident that they will, then Americans are going to feel it. Just like when they were told there's a vibe session, you don't get it. As much as the mainstream media keeps telling them there's an affordability crisis, they're going to say, things are pretty good in my household.
Yeah, I mean, there's obviously a Biden hangover to that, but it does seem like what you're doing has to, at some point it's going to click harder, and we're going to get there. Are tariffs impacting inflation at all from what you see? I mean, everybody, even people that love you guys, that voted for you guys, I hear guys on Wall Street talk about how that's part of the reason that we're having this sticky inflation. What's happening.
They've been completely wrong.
They're wrong on that?
Completely wrong.
Okay.
I had a very good 35-year career on Wall Street by pushing back against the conventional wisdom. The conventional wisdom after April 2nd was the economy's done, the market's going to crash, the dollar's toast, and it's been just the opposite. Just the opposite. So we've had new highs in the stock market. If you dig down inside the data, and the pundits don't like to look at data, they like to look at narratives, and just like my friends this morning. And if you look, that goods inflation, which would be where imported inflation would show up, has been the very, very, very tame. It's been in services, which tells you that there's big demand for services. Services aren't imported; they're not tariffed.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like what you're doing is working, and the revenue seems to be rather tremendous. I mean, I'm trying to think if we can get to a place where, I think about the national debt a lot, and I think about how much we're going to inherit, and our children as well. But if you can get to a place where we can cut this government down to size, and you can also bring in a few $100 trillion a year in tariff revenue, we could almost get to a place where you might be starting to balance the budget and not be $2 trillion over every year.
Well, Rob, what's gone unnoticed in this government shutdown is we actually brought down the deficit this year. It wasn't by much. It was by 1.8 trillion to 1.77 something, but it decreased. The GDP grew. So under the Biden administration, we inherited the worst deficit to GDP when we weren't in a war, weren't in a recession, 6.4, 6.5%. It now has a 5 in front of us, 5.9. And we're going to keep doing that.
Yeah.
And like the idea of tariffs is initially you take in this huge tariff income. Eventually, the factories come home, the jobs go up, tariff income gets replaced by domestic taxes. So the U.S. bond market, by the way, is the only bond market, major G7 bond market, that has lower yields on the year. And that's because our fiscal situation has improved. Right. Everyone else's has deteriorated.
It is impressive. And I mean, we're still trying to fight off what they did to this country during COVID, and the growth of that government was just so explosive. I want to talk about some of the money that's being brought in. You were just in South Carolina. You went to the Boeing, where they make the jets. They announced $1 billion investment, huge expansion, more than 1,000 jobs. You went to a rare earths magnet processing center. Everybody talking about how important this is. Trillions in new investments have been brought into this country since the president came in. I mean, we're talking about numbers so big that you can't even fathom them. It's now just about getting that money into the economy and seeing the effects of it, right?
Yeah, and that's why I wanted to go down to my hometown, home state in South Carolina and see this, because it is the beginning. Boeing is sizing up the president via these trade deals. Boeing gave him the Salesman of the Year award. He's sold more than 1,000 Boeing aircraft, and Boeing is adding, I think, a 50% capacity increase on the Dreamliners and 1,000 new jobs. This rare earth facility in Sumter, South Carolina, rural South Carolina, that I went to visit, not only is it part of taking back our sovereignty by having rare earth production, it was a great story, Rob, because many of the workers there had worked at a Caterpillar plant that had closed. Yeah. And this facility went out of their way to hire those Caterpillar workers. So there were 800 construction jobs, 300 jobs in the factory, but the factory thinks that they can grow between 6 and 10x. So that could be up to 3,000 jobs in this rural area in South Carolina. It's an incredible story, but that's just the beginning. And Rob, you know why? Why is there a rare earths factory in Sumter, South Carolina? Because Governor Henry McMaster got them the permits in 8 weeks. 8 weeks. And what we are seeing, and I think we're going to get a bigger and bigger divide in this affordability crisis, is red state versus blue state. Yeah. At Treasury, we are now doing an analysis of inflation state by state. And there are some states that want to fight it, some states that want to cause it. The governor-elect in New Jersey came out and said, first thing I'm going to do is get energy prices down, or her predecessor is the one who put them through the roof. Right. So, and they don't do anything to make them come down. And they have so many levers they could pull, and they don't use any of them. Yeah, and we're sitting here in New York today. Yeah. Governor Kathy Hochul has promised the administration for months, that she would be willing to put in these natural gas pipelines. Pennsylvania, next door to New York, is natural gas rich. And they're so beholden to the climate grift that they can't just do the very easy thing to make everything less expensive. Well, it's a decision. Yeah. Europe has made the decision. I'm hoping the northeastern part of the U.S. does not make the decision. Wise up. Because what's happening is people are voting with their feet. That's exactly right. Got to ask you one more here. You're trying to end this war in Ukraine. The president's hot on that. Russia's second largest oil company is called Lukoil, which is funny because I just drove past one of those gas stations in New Jersey the other day. You've hit them with some pretty serious sanctions. Is this going to be what's needed to force Putin's hand? Well, I think at the end of the day, it's going to be, we think of it as sources and uses, and what are the sources of Putin's revenues? It's this big oil income, and the president had enough and decided to sanction the two largest Russian oil companies, Rosneft and Lukoil, and a couple of the Kremlin proxies actually had the nerve to try to come and buy them back. Yeah. And right. I will tell you, I will say it here on national TV, if I were a banker for these Kremlin proxies, I'd be very careful, right, because the U.S. Treasury is watching you. Yeah.
It's spun up a lot of stories in that part of the world, other countries that have Lukoil facilities and things like that.
Yeah, well, look, it says, they always say, follow the money, and we'll see what happens here. But President Trump, as usual, is powerful, decisive, and quick acting.
Got 10 seconds left. Do you like the job?
It's incredible.
9 months in?
Honor of a lifetime that President Trump is 21/7.
Yeah.
I have the busiest day I've ever had every year. It's an honor to serve the American people, and it's an honor to be with you on Veterans Day. My dad was a disabled veteran, and I love today.
I love that. The Treasury Secretary, Scott Bessent. Thank you, sir.
Good to see you.
Good to see you. Appreciate it. You know, everybody's reporting the same stories, the same spin. You turn the channel, it's always the same. But not us. We're different. We report the real news. No spin, just the facts. Turn to us, and you won't turn back.
Tune in to Rob Schmitt tonight on Newsmax.